Hello and welcome to our session on packing for an expedition. During the session we're going to look at kit lists, how to pack a rucksack and how to fit a rucksack so it's comfortable as you walk. There's going to be quite a lot of hints and tips of different things that either I do or I know other people do. That'll be really useful on an expedition. So without further ado, here we go. So first and foremost, there is no perfect way to pack a rucksack. The reason for this is that every item that you have in a rucksack will be different from the next person. So you can never have the same rucksack packed up perfectly. There's a few little rules and tips to follow. So in terms of weight distribution, ideally you're aiming for having all of your heavier stuff close to your back, so it's not trying to pull you backwards, and you want it reasonably high up, sort of across your shoulders down to sort of middle back. That's a good place to have it. So it keeps your center of gravity close to you and reasonably low without being too far back. So the lower the weight is, and the further out it is, the more it's going to tip you backwards, which you don't want. You want the lighter stuff at the top, the lighter stuff on the outsides, really. The diagram on the left shows a few different ways in which you might work. That's got a tent on the inside. It's very similar to how I carry mine, but you'll see how I do mine in a moment. And my best hint here is try different arrangements. Okay, put different kit in different order, try a tent sideways, long ways. All the big stuff is what's going to cause you the biggest issue. So you find what works for you.
Okay, here we are with my rucksack. I've already got this pre-packed, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to unpack it for you so you see where items went, some of the reasons behind it, and understand a little bit more about getting that weight distribution right. So, this one's got flap at the top, inside the top here. This is the stuff I want regularly. Okay, I'm ran out of snacks in my house, so there isn't any snacks in here, but normally this is where my snacks are hiding. Okay, but key thing, my map and compass, and that's somewhere in the Lake District from my last expedition. So map and compass lives at the top. Whilst normally I'll be walking with it on me if I'm going in an unknown area, if I know where I'm going and I'm really comfortable with navigation, actually I've stowed that map. I don't want to have to carry it in my hand all the way. I want to have my hands free to enjoy the day. So right at the top there, my phone case. Obviously I'm recording this on my phone, so my phone would be on the top of there as well in case I need it quickly. So anything I need quickly, right at the top. If it's looking like a really wet day, I might have my waterproof in the top of there. Okay. Keep working my way through. I've got rain cover here. Actually, the rain cover's in the back of here. Okay. So if it gets really wet, I can have access to it. On the back of my bag, walking sticks takes a lot of weight off my shoulders and my knees. I'm getting old. I need to look after my knees. And then I've got a little sit mat here. Used to always laugh at people carrying a sit mat. I have to say, since I started doing this, it's the best thing in the world ever. Okay, it weighs practically nothing, and at the end of the day, it keeps my bum from getting wet. Which on a 2-3 day expedition, that's the last thing you want is a wet bottom. Okay, side pockets. Okay, got a couple of rules here. For me, anyway, you'll have your own rules. Left for life, right for refreshments. There's more snacks on my right hand side over here, but left hand side, left for life. This is where I often hide my little multi-tool. I'll put clip on these straps here. But first aid kit, emergency torch, hiding on the left hand side there. In case of emergency, while life's in danger, left for life. Just my little way of remembering things. You might have your own. And then we start working through what's in the bag itself. So you find that bags have extended baffles. The mission on an expedition is not to fill the bag. Just because you've got a big bag doesn't mean it needs to be full with stuff. The sort of challenge, or you've been successful, is if you've got everything you need for an expedition packed and the bag's only half full. Actually, you've done a really good job of packing and keeping it light. Don't keep going, oh, I've got space, I know, I'll throw a frisbee in there. Oh, I've got space. Spare pair of shoes. You never know. And I am that person who took speakers, frisbee, spare shoes on their first expedition, and I've learned that is a bad idea. So, open up, got a drink. Okay, depending on where you're going, if you're going to be picking up your own water, you might need a small bottle. If you're going somewhere where you're not going to have water, you want to maybe have even more water space. Sometimes I carry an empty bottle to fill up when I'm out and about or when I boil water. Now we're moving into our dry bags. So right at the top, one of our top dry bags here, that's just some extra warm bits. So in here I've got buff, a warm hat, sunny, it might be a sun hat, gloves, all those extra bits that you need it quite quickly during the day if it gets a bit cold, you can grab quite quickly in here. But this isn't where the spare clothes are. Okay, just the bits I need during the day. Thinking this one, there's actually a micro fleece in the bottom there as well. So keeping those warm clothes going. Then moving forward, okay, now moving to the realm of stuff that I might need during the day but maybe not. So in here, that's some more food. That's actually got my dehydrated meals in there, as well as some other food that I'll have during the day. So if I wanted to brew up during the day, food's in there. Then I'm looking here at important to get to quickly, particularly if you're wild camping, but that's my little trowel. If you don't want to spend money on a lightweight camping trowel, a trowel from the garden shed will do the job. It should be small enough and light enough. You don't need one of those big fold-up shovels that weigh an absolute ton. Okay, keep it light, keep it simple, and in there will be some toilet roll in a little bag. Once again, this is a heavy-duty dry bag. I don't want anything leaking out there. That's my stove. Working way down one side now of my rucksack. Pulling out my roll mat. Still going down one side. That's my sleeping bag. Always in a dry bag. And check your dry bags. I've been out walking, couple of day expedition on the Cairngorms, and turned out my dry bag wasn't so much a dry bag. Luckily, staying in a nice poppy, little fire, I was a dry out my sleeping bag, but you don't want to be in that situation ever. Right down to the bottom here, okay, I've got hopefully my clothes. Cool, so there's all my spare clothes ready to go. I'm now at the bottom of my rucksack. However, down one side of my rucksack is my tent. Okay, so I'm prepped here to go fully solo. Right in the bottom, if I'd packed this properly, but I've had these out recently, my waterproof trousers, because I can get to them right in the bottom here, okay, for an excess hole at the bottom. I had them out recently, so I've managed to unpack those, but all those bits will fit in here. Tent is really useful to have quite readily available there, rather than being stuck right at the bottom and hidden. You can dig everything else out, because actually I could have got the tent out before the clothes, the sleeping bag, the roll mat. Okay, they could all stay in the bag and stay dry. I get slide the tent out, put the tent up, then get the sleeping bag out, then get the clothes out, and all those bits are going to be more useful to me later, when it's dry. I don't want to get anything out when it's wet, which is the sort of the important bits there. So that's all those items. That's the way I pack it. Depending on the size of the items, you might have a really short, fat tent. You might have a larger firm rest, a bigger sleeping bag, a longer sleeping bag, different bits of clothes. You work out how that best fits. I've got a system that I've practiced many times now when I go on expeditions, so I know exactly where I'm going to put things. I actually know which colour dry bags are which, so I can actually really just glance at it and go, yeah, I know which one I want. Because I use different dry bags, they have different feels to them as well. They're all by different brands. I know, I'll put my hand in there, I know what I'm going to pull out without looking, and that's a really good place to be, because if it's dark, it's cold, it's wet, you don't want to be going, I'll get this out, I'll get that out. You want to just go, yeah, bang, got what I wanted, I'm happy, everything else is dry, because you want to protect everything else to make sure that you're not up a certain creek without a paddle, let's say. Okay. Anyway, that's me packing my bag. I best repack it so I can show you how to wear your rucksack properly. Cheers.
So here we have some of the suggested kit which you just saw as I unpacked the bag there. Just a few things that I'm just going to talk through, not the entire list. You can find a variety of lists online, particularly if you're doing DofE, there'll be lists available. One of the things I would say is lots of places will say, oh, here's a suggested kit list, and maybe even suggested brands to buy. Whilst that's nice, that's often companies trying to make extra money off you. So work out exactly what you need before you go off and buy it. You can borrow some kit before you actually use it, and that might be a useful way of working out which kit works and which kit doesn't work for you. If you can borrow some in advance for your practice expeditions, maybe. But going through clothes-wise, I haven't mentioned that much, but you want a layering system. So you're working through from wicking layers close to your body through to mid layers like a micro fleece, and then maybe an outer layer, a heavier duty fleece, then waterproofs. You can build up that layer as you get warm. You take layers off. That's a useful way of working. Now, one of the things I talked about there was using dry bags. I would strongly suggest dry bags because you can pack things individually rather than one big bag that you put everything in, and then you have to tip it out to find everything. Individual dry bags are so much easier, and I wish I used them as I was growing up. That would have been made my expeditions as a young person so much easier. Couple of little hints and tips for you though. I see all the time, and I've been involved in groups where this is what they ask you people to do, is, oh, you're in a group going on an expedition. What you want to do is split your tent and split your stove. So one person carries the stove, one person carries the gas, one person carries the tent poles and outer, one carries the inner and the pegs. I strongly suggest don't do that. Okay, everyone's got their own way, but my reason is, if for whatever reason you get separated, you end up stuck with half a tent and half a stove. So you can't make a meal, and you can't get under shelter. Whereas if you've got all the tent and somebody else has got all the stove, you get separated. At least you've got a tent so you can stay nice and dry and warm. The person with the stove, whilst they can't stay dry and warm in the tent, they can at least make some food. So there's payoffs there, but if you can manage it, don't split the kit. You might share kits, so one person takes one thing, one person takes another, but splitting it, probably not advisable all the time. So other things to think about, I always tell my students at school when we do DofE, you all need a toothbrush on an expedition, particularly longer ones. You probably don't all need one tube of toothpaste each. How about one person takes the toothpaste? And then at that point you start thinking, oh, what else can we do that with? I use toothpaste as the example, but there'll be other things you can use. Equally with cooking, you saw my small stove there as it came out of my bag. That had the gas in it, and it also had a little brew kit of tea and a spoon and a cup all in there. That's really useful. I try not to take crockery. I don't take plates or mess tins or anything like that. I try and eat from boiling the bag, so I'm just eating straight out of the bag. It'll save an awful lot in terms of, I don't need to take anything to do washing up really. I don't need to take much in terms of extra weight for plates and cutlery. I have one spork and that does my job. So I've really looked at how I can minimize my kit. Okay, I've put extras there. As you saw in the video, I did take speakers and all sorts of my first expeditions, doing the Walls Way as a 15-year-old. Yeah, don't do that. It's way too much weight for you. Take something extra for a bit of fun, pack of cards maybe, but don't everyone take something. You can probably go on less kit than you realise. And my final hint, big one, get back from your expedition. Before you do anything, before you unpack fully, before you go and have a takeaway, whatever it is you need to do, before you jump through the shower, unpack slowly. Take everything out and lay it out across the floor in your house, your garden, next to a minibus if you're about to get picked up, and look at each thing. Did I use this? Get somebody else in your team. Did you use that? No, I didn't use that. I did this with one group doing Gold DofE last year, before lockdown, and I said, look, just put a pile of all the different bits you really didn't need on your practice expedition. Just pile it next to each person. I came along, filled a full rucksack, and it was a full rucksack. It was heavier than my rucksack, and I'd been out supervising for 3 days. It was heavier than my rucksack, and that was just wasted stuff that they just didn't need, didn't use. So really take that into account. What do you need, and what do you actually want? So there's a difference between need and want there. Okay.
So now that we've packed our rucksack, what we want to do is make sure we can fit the rucksack on ourselves in a comfortable manner. Now, all rucksacks have many different mechanisms to help us get a comfortable fit, but the main thing to worry about is making sure it fits your back properly, from your shoulders down to your lower backs and round your hips. What we want with our rucksacks is they sit on your hips rather than your shoulders. I've been there when I was younger, packing my rucksack and having it all the way on my shoulders, and massive sores or welts on my shoulders, and it makes an expedition really, really uncomfortable. So we're going to make sure we don't do that. And I'll go through a few ways of working here. Now, first and foremost, you can see my rucksack down here. It's nicely packed. It doesn't look like a Christmas tree. It's not got a mug hanging off on one side, or other paraphernalia like a roll mat, or a worse one, like a sleeping bag in a bin bag, just tied to the edge of the rucksack. It should all be in there, nice and neat, nice and compact. So we've packed a rucksack. We've got good balance here. Okay, I can sort of feel it. Okay, the balance in there. It feels comfortable. It's not going to fall from one side or the other. Good test. Okay, it's let go. It's standing up on its own. That means it's got the weight going straight down it. Really positive that. Okay, so looking at the rucksack, this is set up for me. Okay, you can just see that yellow line on here. Okay, that means it's into the medium range. For you, I'd strongly suggest you take a moment to have a little look at your rucksacks, try a bunch of different heights and see which one suits you. Because there is a measure where you can measure it, get it exactly to fit. However, from personal experience, that's not always the case. Okay, I actually tend to have mine slightly smaller than what they recommend for me, and that's just through from trying to fit the rucksack myself, trying different strap lengths, and actually this is the comfortable part. But generally speaking, when you put on your rucksack, which is what I'm going to do now, when you put on your rucksack, we want to do the hip belt. Okay, that needs to be really tight. Not too tight that it cuts off the circulation to your stomach or anything. But what I want is I want the weight on my hips there. The idea being chest straps. So these two straps here are the two most important straps to have. If your rucksack doesn't have those straps, I wouldn't suggest doing a long expedition with it, because it's going to start becoming very, very uncomfortable. So what I'm looking for here is if I start turning, I can put my hand quite easily underneath this strap here. Turn this way, okay, and my hand goes underneath the strap here. That means most of the weight is on my hips. Okay, if it's on the hips, my shoulders and my back are going to feel better. My centre of gravity is a bit lower, so if I have to scramble, it's actually an awful lot more comfortable, which is a bit of a bonus. You'll have noticed that I also carry, get the right side, walking poles. Actually, if you're walking any great length as an expedition, walking poles actually take, I think they say somewhere 25 and 33% of the weight of your rucksack from your legs. So your legs don't get tired, you can travel further, you feel fitter, you feel more comfortable. Okay, that's definitely a better thing to have. But your nice tight hips, you want to make sure it's sitting on the hips. Okay, so when you take the weight, you can actually, I can feel the weight of my rucksack here. Okay, it's sitting on the hips, pull that tight, adjust your shoulder straps as far as you want, so make them really loose here. Okay, now really loose. Okay, and then just tighten them up until I feel it's comfortable. And it does move around on my shoulders a little bit, but the weight is on the waist, which is the important bit. Okay, so you want to change the back length to make sure that the weight sits on the waist there, and then the straps come down to meet you. Okay, but it all starts around the waist. Probably overdone the word waist there. You need to keep saying it, but the weight needs to be on here and not on here. Thank you. Good luck on your expedition.
So that brings us to the end of my little talk on fitting a rucksack, and particularly overdoing the word waist there. So a couple of final points. Separate dry bags for each set of items, really useful tip. It makes it easy to identify. I tend to pack it in order of need. If I'm likely to need something during the day, it's higher up. Okay, so I can get to it quick. Trying to avoid splitting your tent or cooking equipment. Okay, empty everything at the end of your expedition. Okay, I do that every time still. I go, don't need that, don't need that. Particularly parents at Christmas do like to go, oh, you're doing expeditions. I'll go to an outdoor shop and I'll buy you one of these amazing little camp gadgets. All these things add weight. You probably don't need half of it. So little gadgets and bits aren't always an advantage to have. Duct tape, which I usually have in the first aid kit, is. But really work out, did I use this? Yes and no. Is it an emergency item? And if I didn't use it, I probably still need to carry it. Yes, great. But other stuff, do start thinking, did I really need those extra 4 pairs of trousers? Or is one bronze group I've worked with before onesies? You never know when you might need a onesie. Anyway, hope that was useful, and I hope you have a great time next season out in the hills. Thank you, and goodbye.